Hello everyone and welcome to this podcast today brought to you by Censis Technologies. I'm your host Tyler Kern. Thank you so much for joining us here for this episode of the show. Today we are talking about Scopetrac and we're going to outline why it's so effective and what it does in the medical community and why it's such an important tool. And joining me here today is Sam Harrison. He's a senior clinical educator at Censis Technologies. Sam, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, Sam, I'm excited to get a chance to dive into this topic with you today and to learn a little bit more. And so just kick us off today by walking us through the life cycle of a scope. What are the various steps and stages it goes through in its journey?
Yeah, so the scope generally comes down from the procedure room and enters the decontamination room first. So typically hospitals will have areas dedicated to high-level disinfecting flexible scopes. That's not always the case. I've been to places where the scopes are processed just in the main decontamination area, but generally there's a dedicated area for reprocessing flexible endoscopes. So the scopes will enter the dirty side where they are cleaned, leak tested, and these processes are all captured within CensiTrac. When the tech checks that scope into the scope processing module, the instructions for use are displayed. Those instructions for use can be customized per the scope model, or the manufacturer's IFUs can be uploaded or video can be uploaded, essentially to make it as easy as possible for the end user. So the scope gets checked into decontamination and gets cleaned and leak tested, and all of that is documented in CensiTrac. From there, it goes to the clean room where the scope is high-level disinfected. Again, that HLD load is required to be documented, and CensiTrac digitalizes that process and streamlines it. Once that HLD load is created and resulted, generally that scope has been high-level disinfected, it will then go to usually some sort of clean storage area. And then here again, CensiTrac has the ability to track those scopes to their current storage location. So we have visibility of where scopes are currently, as well as, there is the ability to print out on the label the expiration date. So anybody, walking by can see that this scope, if it's expired or if it's approaching expiration date. And then again, all of these things are also tracked within the system itself. But then from the clean storage area, then it generally goes to the procedure room. And from there, we have the ability to associate that scope to a patient via some sort of case ID using the case tracking module within CensiTrac. So from beginning to end, scopes come down into decontamination, then they go over to the clean room, then clean storage, and then a procedure room, and then back to decon. So in each area, CensiTrac is used to track and document every required process.
That's pretty incredible, and that really gives us a good idea of the range of management that can take place with CensiTrac, right? It really provides an added layer of visibility kind of all throughout the process, right?
Yes, yeah, most definitely. By digitalizing the scope HLD records, having it all in one database. I'll go to some facilities sometimes where they're still using like a paper process. So they have all of these scope records on this paper, and trying to keep that in the dirty side and then putting those in binders and stuff. It's just CensiTrac really just cleans that up and automates it, and provides more than just digitalizing these records. It gives you the visibility to easily check out your scope inventory, run historical HLD load reports. There's the maintenance module that can track the comings and goings of scopes being sent and returned from repair. So all of this can be documented using CensiTrac Scopetrac.
So that's kind of an introduction into Scopetrac. So tell us a little bit more. I would assume that the digitization and the visibility, like you're talking about, really helps improve efficiency and accuracy, right? And that seems like it would be a big thing and a big win-win, I would assume, for a lot of people, is if you can do things quicker and more accurately, that feels like something that would be a huge positive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I think that in improving the efficiency and accuracy, and just by having a defined process and a digitally defined process, I think that really helps to automate things, and having the ability, like I mentioned earlier, to display the IFUs when processing a specific scope model, and the ability to track and display essential information such as the hang time expiration on the labels, and the reporting capabilities. So I think that for as far as accuracy and automation, that a tracking system really helps with that.
That's an excellent point. And you mentioned earlier regulatory requirements and how ScopeTrack also helps with that aspect of things as well. Tell us a little bit more about those regulatory requirements and how ScopeTrack can help meet those needs as well.
Yeah, and I know I keep kind of going back to the IFUs, but again, when the techs are processing those scopes, the ability is there to have those processing steps right there, which is huge. Each scope model can be processed different, so there's a lot of different ways and there's a lot of different scope models. So to having those processing steps there to help abide by the regulatory compliance is huge. And having the ability to upload images or videos right from the manufacturers or PDFs, having that available as well for the end user helps them to process that scope correctly. Also, not even at the end user point, the ability for leadership to run all of those HLD load records and pull that historical information and be able to just track how many HLD loads they're running on their AERs, and what the current status of their scope inventory is. If scopes have failed leak tests, we have all of that visibility. So all of these things that are required to be captured, we're able to do that digitally using CensiTrac.
That's a fantastic point, and I would assume that just given the way that the last 18, 20 months have gone for medical facilities, that adding, increased efficiency, accuracy, and being able to satisfy regulatory requirements is something that is necessary these days, just to be able to have that peace of mind and to get through operations quicker and more accurately. That's been a big need over the last, going on 2 years now. Just given the way that that the pandemic has unrolled and things like that, that everybody is looking for ways to become more efficient, and it sounds like CensiTrac is a great way to do that.
Yes, absolutely. I also wanted to mention too, so Censis has rolled out what's called ConCensis or ScopeTrack Advanced, and what this is there's additional capabilities as opposed to just the general ScopeTrack module. So everything that we've talked about up to this point is the general ScopeTrack module, which is great. It does so many things and allows you to abide by that, the regulatory requirements. But Advanced, takes it a little bit further. ScopeTrack Advanced is what that does is it allows you to have OR scheduler interface capabilities. So if your OR scheduler is interfaced with CensiTrac, your scopes can be a part of that. It has the ability to interface with reprocessing machines. And there's like a hands-on option, or sorry, a hands-free option. So oftentimes in the decontamination, the dirty HLD area, you're all gowned up back there. So if you're processing a scope, as you picture yourself as a technician, all gowned up back there trying to process a scope, rather than using the mouse or the keypad, or there's a foot pedal that you can use, as well as the leak test, ATP, and residue testing can be incorporated directly in the scope processing step. So that's new with ScopeTrack Advanced as well. Point of use, the bedside cleaning can be logged in the case tracking module. And then we have reporting capabilities on the ATP and residue testing, as well as the point of use cleaning. So there's some new functionality in the ScopeTrack Advanced that's really beneficial. So I just wanted to kind of point that out as well.
That's a fantastic point. I'm glad you did point that out. That's some good information to have. And we talked a little bit about this earlier, but the increased visibility and transparency throughout every step of the process, like you mentioned, I think is a huge aspect of this. Just to have that layer of knowing where everything is and where it is in the process. How can that be so beneficial?
Well, yeah, so that's a good point. So so not only does ScopeTrack help to abide by regulatory compliance and improve efficiency with the scope tracking process, but it can also help with, as I mentioned earlier, kind of that maintenance portion of it. So you're able to track the comings and goings of your scopes as far as and the status of each scope, when it's due for repair, if it's past due for repair, those types of things. So as far as actual like money value, you can track that using CensiTrac and track those inventory costs and the maintenance schedules and the actual cost of the scope and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic stuff. So, Sam, as we begin to wrap up this conversation here today and bring to a close the discussion that we've had about Scopetrac, do you have any final thoughts, any closing things that you want to say, or anything you want to leave the audience with, just in terms of what Scopetrac is, its benefits, and anything moving forward?
Yeah, I think that for customers that are not using Scopetrac, it might seem a little daunting if they're considering using it, but really it's, once you understand it, it's a very straightforward process. The initial configuration isn't that hard. You just need to set up your AERs and then add your scope steps. And then, so either if you're a customer that's not using CensiTrac and has interest in using it, or if you are a customer that is using Scopetrac but would like to make sure that you're using it right, or maybe define your process a little bit better, I would recommend just reaching out to your client manager who can kind of work with you on that process, and either get that set up for you or help you make it to optimize your process. And I also wanted to point out that there's different tiers of within CensiTrac of customers. So we have, I actually work for the Service Plus team, the clinical services team, and what we do is we work with existing customers, and we provide a utilization assessment, an annual utilization assessment. So what we'll do is we'll evaluate how CensiTrac's being used in each area. We'll do a comprehensive evaluation of how it's being used in each area. And what we'll do is we'll take that information and we'll write up a training plan, and we'll work with usually the manager of the department or somebody from the facility to determine how we can optimize CensiTrac usage, or how we can fix anything that's broken, or how can we just reinforce the fundamentals and core processes of CensiTrac. And then we'll send a trainer out on site to work one-on-one with the staff. So that's called Service Plus. If you are not a Service Plus customer and you have more interested in learning about that, as well as some of the other things that we do, your client manager can also help you with that as well.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah, absolutely great information there from Sam Harrison, Senior Clinical Educator at Censis Technologies. Sam, thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast today and educating me and the listeners a little bit more on Scopetrac and CensiTrac today.
Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Absolutely. And everyone, thank you for tuning into this episode of the podcast. Stay tuned for more, but for this one, for my guest today, Sam Harrison, I've been your host, Tyler Kern. Thanks for joining us.